Hi everybody, I'm Bree, and today I wanted to talk to you about grouping in Figma. Today we are going to be using this file. I've linked to the file below, so feel free to duplicate that file and follow along as we go through this video. First of all, what is grouping? Grouping is something that you can do to multiple objects that puts them together. And when you group things together, you can move them as one and change their size as one. So let's get started. First of all, how do you group two objects? You need to select them both. You can do that by clicking and dragging, or by holding down Shift and clicking on each while you have Shift held down. You can then right-click and go to Group Selection, or you can use the keyboard shortcut that is off to the right. Now these objects are grouped. How do you know that your objects are grouped? When you click on them or move them, they will both move. You can also tell by looking in your Layers panel. Once we grouped this object, we had something change in our Layers panel, which was this group with this little drop-down arrow. If you click on that arrow, it'll show you the objects that are in your group, and then you can select them individually to edit them individually. So why are groups important? Well, let's zoom out and take a look at our layout here. In this frame, we have a lot of objects that are very similar, but they're not quite aligned how we want them to be, and aligning every single object in each of these things would kind of be a pain, right? Especially if every time I select something, it's going to move by itself. Grouping is going to help us with that. It's going to clean up our Layers panel so that we know which of these rectangles and which of these text blocks go with which of these cards, and it's going to make it easier for us to make small edits. Let's get started. First, I'm going to hold down Shift to select all three of my objects here. I'm going to right-click and go to Group. So now we have this thing grouped. It's called Group 2. I'm going to double-click to rename this to Card 1. So now we have one card and it's grouped, but to show you the differences between how easy this is when it's grouped between when it's not grouped, I'm going to duplicate this frame. We're going to recreate that layout that we had. To do this here, we're going to hold down Option or Alt, click and drag, and we only have to do that a few times to create our grid. But let's say we want to do it over here. Nothing is grouped, so that means that we have to either select all of these objects by holding down Shift and doing the same thing every time, or we're going to end up doing something like this where we drag each object separately and then have to line them all back up, which is not ideal because then all of your alignment and spacing is going to be different. So as you can see, like, it's already taken me twice as long and I'm not even done with this, and this one is already done. Secondly, we have our cards over here, and because they're grouped, they're all numbered. And up here, we just have separate objects and we don't know which one goes with which. Something else groups are nice for are keeping elements that you want to move around together in one place. So maybe that's not a card. Maybe that's your nav bar, like this. Let's say that we have a really light background on this guy here. I'm gonna right click and send this to the back. And I'm just gonna change the alignment on this, really quickly. We go over our alignment in another video, so take a look at that if you want to learn more about Figma's alignment and distribution tools. All right, so we have everything aligned how we want to. So now let's say we don't want to have to move all of these objects separately. Like maybe we have these all grouped because they're links. I'm gonna do Command G instead of the drop down. And we have our logo grouped, but we want to be able to move all of this to multiple pages without having to select it all. Let's select all of these objects, and you would group them so that you could very easily copy and paste this to multiple frames. And you could even name this frame Navbar to make it easier for you to find in all of your different groups that you have here. This way, when you have another artboard, you could copy this just by clicking once. If you select a frame and then you paste, it will paste that object in the exact same place that it is on the other. But by doing this, you don't have to copy and paste 3 times, once for the logo, once for the text, and once for the background. Instead, you only have to do it once for that whole section, which could really speed up your design time. So what if you want to edit something in one of these groups? Let's use this navbar as the example. So I want to edit this square for this logo, and I want it to be a circle. If I click once, I'm just going to select the group. if I click twice and I'm on this rectangle, it's going to select the group that is the text and the square. So then I have to click twice again to get through there. So every time you have groups inside of each other, you're going to have to click twice to go down a level. Another way to do this is to use your layers panel. So before we started clicking, it looked like this. If you were to select the arrow, it will then show you the other groups. If my groups were named as they should be, this would say logo, and this would say links, this would say background. I would know to click here to this drop down and then select this rectangle. So this is going to help you keep everything organized. And then I can change my corner radius to make this my circle. To ungroup things, select the group, right click, and select ungroup. Another way that you can do this is you can do Command Shift G, and that will undo your group. So other interesting things that you can do with groups. You can resize things together and it will pull out everything, make everything bigger or smaller, taller or shorter. Another interesting thing that you can do with groups is in your inspector panel. So like this one says selection colors. The downside is it doesn't tell you what these colors are for, so you might have to play around with them to see what they're going to change. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. Thank you. Bye.